Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Chapter 30. Kapila Uvacha Tasyaitasya Jano Nunam Nayam Vedoru Vikramam Kalyamanopi Balino Vayoriva Ghanavalihi. The personality of Godhead said, as a mass of clouds does not know the powerful influence of the wind, a person engaged in material consciousness does not know the powerful strength of the time factor by which he is being carried. Yam Yamartamupadatte Dukkhena Sukhahetave Tam Tam Dhunoti Bhagavan Putrancho Pumancho Chati Yatkrute. Whatever is produced by the materialist with great pain and labor for the so called happiness, the Supreme Personality, as the time factor, destroys, and for this reason, the conditioned soul laments. Yadadhruvasya dehasya sanubandhasya dhurmatihi Druvani manyate mohad gruhashretra vasunicha. The misguided materialist does not know that his very body is impermanent and that the attractions of home, land, and wealth, which are in relationship to that body, are also temporary. Out of ignorance, only he thinks that everything is permanent. Janturvaibhavaye tasmin yam yonimanuvrajet tasyam salabhate nirvrutim na virajyate. The living entity, in whatever species of life he appears, finds a particular type of satisfaction in that species, and he is never averse to being situated in such a condition. Narakasthopi deham vai napumam styaktumichati narakyam nirvrutau satyam devamaya vimohitaha. The conditioned living entity is satisfied in his own particular species of life, while deluded by the covering influence of the illusionary energy, he feels little inclined to cast off his body, even when in hell, for he takes delight in hellish enjoyment. Atmajaya sutagara pashudravina bandhushu Nirudamula Hridaya Atmanam Bahumanyate. Such satisfaction with one's standard of living is due to deep rooted attraction for body, wife, home, children, animals, wealth, and friends. In such association, the conditioned soul thinks himself quite perfect. Sandahyamana sarvangam yeshamudvahanadhina karotyaviratam mudho duritani durashayah. Although he is always burning with anxiety, such a fool always performs all kinds of mischievous activities with a hope which is never to be fulfilled in order to maintain his so called family and society. आक्षिप्तात्मे आक्षिप्तात्मेन्द्रियश्रीणाम् असि अतीनां च मया आक्षिप्तात्मेन्द्रियश्रीणाम् असतीनां च मायया रहो रचितया लापैः शिशूनां कलभाषिणाम्. He gives heart and senses to a woman who falsely charms him with Maya. He enjoys solitary embraces and talking with her, and he is enchanted by the sweet words of the small children. Gruheshu kutadharmeshu dukkhatantreshvatandritaha kurvan dukkhapratīkāram sukavan manyate gruhi. The attached householder remains in his family life, which is full of diplomacy and politics. After spreading miseries and controlled by acts of sense gratification, he acts just to counteract the reactions of his miseries, and if he can successfully counteract such miseries, he thinks he is happy. Arthairāpāditair gurvya himsayetastaschatān pushnāti yesham poshena shoshabhugyātyadhah swayam. He secures money by committing violence here and there, and although he employs it in the service of his family, he himself eats only a little portion of the food thus purchased, and he goes to hell for those for whom he earned the money in such an irregular way. Vartayam luptamanayam arabdhayam punah punah lobhabhibhuto nissattvaha pararte kurute spruham. When he reverses in his occupation, he tries again and again to improve himself, but when he is baffled in all attempts and is ruined, he accepts money from others because of excessive greed. Kutumba bharana kalpo mandamagyo vrutodhyamaha shriya vihina krupano dhyayanchvasiti mudadhihi. Thus, the unfortunate man, unsuccessful in maintaining his family members, is bereft of all beauty. He always thinks of his failure, grieving very deeply. Yevam swabharana kalpam tatkalatradhayastata nadriyante yata purvam kinasha iva gojaram. Seeing him unable to support them, his wife and others do not treat him with the same respect as before, even as miserly farmers do not accord the same treatment to their old and worn out oxen. Tatrapyajata nirvedo mriyamana swayam bhrutaihi jarayopattavairupyo maranabhimukho gruhe. The foolish family man does not become averse to the family life, although he is maintained by those whom he once maintained. Deformed by the influence of old age, he prepares himself to meet ultimate death. Aste vamatyopan yastam गृहपाल इवाहरन् आमया व्यप्रदीप्ता व्यप्रदीप्ताग्निर् अल्पाहारोल्पचेष्टितः. Thus he remains at home just like a pet dog and eats whatever is so negligently given to him. Afflicted with many illnesses such as dyspepsia and loss of appetite, he eats only very small morsels of food and he becomes an invalid who cannot work anymore. Krishna Govinda. वायुनोत्क्रमतोत्तारः खप संरुद्धनाडिकः कासश्वासकृतायासः कण्ठे गुरायते. In that diseased condition, one's eyes bulge due to the pressure of air from within, and his glands become congested with mucus. He has difficulty breathing, and upon exhaling and inhaling, he produces a sound like gruha gruha, a rattling within the throat. Krishna Govinda. शयानः परिशोचद्भिः परिवीतस्वबन्धुभिः वाच्यमानोऽपि न ब्रूते कालपाशवशं गतः. In this way he comes under the clutches of death and lies down, surrounded by lamenting friends and relatives, and although he wants to speak with them, he no longer can because he is under the control of time. Govinda Hare Krishna. Evam kutumbha bharane vyaprutatma jitendriyaha mriyate rudatam swanam uruvedanayastadhihi. Thus the man who engaged with uncontrolled senses in maintaining a family dies in great grief seeing his relatives crying. He dies most pathetically in great pain and without consciousness. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Yamadutau tada praptau Bhimau sarasa sadruष्ट्वा त्रस्तहृदयः shatrunmutram vimunchati. At death he sees the messengers of the Lord of Death come before him. Their eyes full of wrath, and in great fear he passes stool and urine. Yatana deha avritya pashair gale balat nayato dheergamadvanam dandyam rajabhatayata. As a criminal is arrested for punishment by the constables of the state, a person engaged in criminal sense gratification is similarly arrested by the Yamadutas, who bind him by the neck with a strong rope and cover his subtle body so that he may undergo severe punishment. Hare Krishna, Govinda, Govinda, Govinda. Tayor निर्भिन्नहृदयस्तर्जनैर्जातवेपतुः पतिष्वभिर्भक्ष्यमाणा आर्तोघं स्वमनुस्मरन्. While carried by the constables of Yamaraja, he is overwhelmed and trembles in their hands. While passing on the road, he is bitten by dogs and he can remember the sinful activities of his life. He is thus terribly distressed. Krishna, please protect me. Make sure I don't face all of this. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. क्षुत्रुट्परीतोर्कदवानलानिलैः सन्तर्प्यमानः तप्तवालुके क्षुत्रुट्परीतोर्कदवानलानिलैः सन्तर्प्यमानः पतितप्तवालुके कृच्छ्रेण पृष्ठे कषया च चलत्यशक्तोऽपि निराश्रमोदके. Under the scorching sun, the criminal has to pass through the roads of hot sand with forest fires on both sides. He is whipped on the back by constables because of his inability to walk, and he is afflicted by hunger and thirst. But unfortunately, there is no drinking water, no shelter, and no place for rest on the road. Hare Krishna. Tatra patanchranto मूर्छितः पुनरुत्थितः पथा पापीयसा नीतस्तरसा यमसादनम्. While passing on that road to the abode of Yamaraja, he falls down in fatigue and sometimes he becomes unconscious, but he is forced to rise again. In this way, he is very quickly brought to the presence of Yamaraja. Yojananam sahasrani navatim navachadvanaha tribhir muhurtairdvabhyam va nitah prapnoti yatanaha. Thus he has to pass 99,000 yojanas within 2 or 3 moments, and then he is at once engaged in the torturous punishment which he is destined to suffer. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Adipanam swagatranam veshtayitvolmukadibihi atmamam sadhanam kvapi swakruttam paratopiva. He is placed in the midst of burning pieces of wood and his limbs are set on fire. In some cases, he is made to eat his own flesh and have it eaten by others. Hare Krishna. Jivataschantrabhyudharaha swagrugrair sarvavrushchikadam shadyair dashadbhischatmavaishasam. He enthralls all his entrails are pulled out by the hounds and vultures of the hell, even though he is still alive to see it, and he is subjected to a torment by serpents, scorpions, gnats, and other creatures that bite him. Govinda. Kruntanam chavayavasho gajadibhyo bidapanam patanam girishrungebhyo rodanam chambugartayoho. Next, his limbs are lopped off and torn asunder by the elephants. He is hurled down by hilltops, and he is also held captive either in water or in a cave. यास्ता मित्रान्ध यास्ता मिस्त्रान्धता मिस्रा गौरवाद्याश्च यातनाः भुङ्क्ते नरो वा नारी वा मितः सङ्गेन निर्मिताः. Men and women whose lives are built upon indulgence in illicit sex life are put into many kinds of miserable conditions in the hells known as Tamisra, Andhatamisra, and Raurava. Atraiva narakasvarga iti matah prachakshate yayatana vai narakyasta iha Pyupalakshitaha. Lord Kapila continued, My dear mother, it is sometimes said that we experience hell or heaven on this planet, for hellish punishments are sometimes visible on this planet also. Yevam kutumbham bibrana udaram bharayeva va Visrujyeho bhayam pretya bhunkte tatpalamidrusham. After leaving this body, the man who maintained himself and his family members by sinful activities suffers a hellish life, and his relatives suffer also. Yekah prapadyate dvantam itvedam swakalevaram Kushale tarapateyo bhutadrohena yad brutam. He goes alone to the darkest regions of the hell after quitting the present body, and the money he acquired by envying other living entities is the passage money with which he leaves this world. दैवेनासाधितं तस्य शमलं निरये पुमान् भुङ्क्ते कुटुम्बपोषस्य हृतवित्त इवातुरः. Thus, by the arrangement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the maintainer of kingsmen is put into hellish condition to suffer for his sinful activities, like a man who has lost his wealth. Kevalena yadharmena kutumba baranotsukaha yati jivondhata mishram charamam tamasaf padam. Therefore, a person who is very eager to maintain his family and kinsmen simply by black methods certainly goes to the darkest region of the hell, which is known as Andhatamisra. Adastan naralokasya yavatiryatanadayaha kramashah samanukramya punarastravrajechruchihi. Having gone through all the miserable, hellish conditions and having passed in a regular order through the lowest forms of animal life prior to human birth, and having thus been purged of his sins, one is reborn again as a human being on this earth. Thus ends the chapter entitled Description by Lord Kapila of Adverse Fruitive Actions. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare.